Hey friends, it's Robin. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about July releases. I feel like historically summer was the time when releases would slow down, and that is definitely not the case anymore. I have a whole ton of July releases. There are 15 books on this list, so let's get right into it. As always, these are going to be ordered by release date, and if you want to see any of the previous months, I will have my playlist linked down in the description box. Kicking it off with July 2nd, we have The Love of My Afterlife by Christy Greenwood. I have already read this one. This is a more contemporary story. It does have a romance in it, but I wouldn't necessarily classify this as a romance just because I feel like the focus isn't on the romance. But we're following a heroine who, right at the beginning of the book, ends up dying. She chokes on a microwave hamburger and she wakes up at this laundromat with this woman who's like, hey, this is the afterlife. I'm here to help you. And while she is there, a guy appears and it turns out that he is not actually dead, but he was unconscious and accidentally came to this afterlife. And her and this guy have this immediate spark and connection, and the woman that is helping is like, you guys are soulmates. I'm gonna send you back to Earth. You have 10 days to get him to kiss you and then you can have your life back. It is really focusing on her realizing that she wasn't really living her life before. She never put herself out there. She took the safe route on everything, and it's her getting her second chance. On to July 8th, we have Sugarcoated Kisses by Lady Marie. This is the third book in her Sugared and Spice novella series. This was originally going to come out like the last week of June, but it got pushed back to the 8th, and this is a sugar baby, sugar daddy romance. And I think this one is set at a masquerade ball, and I think the hero is a sugar daddy and the heroine is somebody new. I'm really excited for it. The series is so steamy and the previous books were 5-star novellas for me. And then on July 9th, we have another 2 releases. First is The Game Changer by Lana Ferguson. We have a hero who is a hockey player. He's returning to his hometown. His parents own the hockey team, and when he returns to this team, he is working with the PR person to help clean up his image going into the new season. And one of the ways that they do that is he is appearing on his best friend's, who's also a hockey player, sister's baking show. And the two of them have a fake dating PR setup. I feel like my feelings for it are coming across in how I'm describing this. The other book is The Next Best Fling by Gabrielle Gomez. I've also read this one. This is a love square. For everyone that's like, I hate love triangles. It's a love square in the fact that they're all connected, but it's really following just one couple. You know who the couple is. We're following a heroine who's a librarian, and she has been carrying a torch for her best friend for a decade. Right at the beginning of the book, she learns that he is proposing to his girlfriend of 8 years, and she is devastated, but she is kind of taking this as an opportunity to try and get over these feelings. And when she's at the engagement party, she runs into the best friend's brother, who is about to blow up the engagement party by telling the soon-to-be bride that he is in love with her. Our heroine stops him at the last second, and they kind of flee the engagement party together, and everyone at the engagement party now thinks that they are an item. They decide to help each other out and fake date in hopes of getting over these feelings for these two extremely unavailable people. On to July 16th, we have 2 more books. First is The Vows by Jessica Joyce. This is a book that I am just about finished reading. I'm so proud of myself for finally being ahead on arcs. This is a second chance romance following these 2 main characters who knew each other growing up. They became best friends. They fell in love, and they had this really heartbreaking split. And we are, I think, 5 years later, and their mutual best friend is getting married. He's the best man, she's the best woman. And they have to work together to help save the most disastrous wedding. Everything goes wrong with this wedding, and it is them working through a lot of feelings and resentment and all of the feelings that have come up since they have been so close together, and it is their second chance romance. The other book is Not Another Love Song by Julie Soto, which is possibly my favorite book of the year. This is a very tension-filled musician romance following a heroine who's a violinist, and a hero who is a cellist, and they do not get along. They get off on the wrong foot and they immediately butt heads, and there is a lot of ego in the way. But when I tell you that the sexual tension in this book is everything, the horniness of this cover is exactly what you get inside the book. So do with that as you will. July 23rd is the big release date. Apparently, I have 5 books on that day that I'm excited for. The first one is the Ornithologists Field Guide to Love by India Holton. This is the start of a new series, but from what I have gathered, it is a very similar feel to her Wisteria Society series. So if you enjoyed that one, probably enjoy this one. If you didn't enjoy that, I don't think this is the author for you. This is a historical fantasy romance. It is a rivals to lovers romance. We are following these 2 birders, and I believe the heroine is sent on a mission or something like that, a job, and the hero steals it out from underneath her. Now they need to work together on like their next project. I'm sure it's going to have the same like humor and feel of the Wisteria Society, which I loved. Then we have Cross the Line by Simone Soltani. This is an F1 romance, which I feel like we're getting a lot of this year. This is another brother's best friend romance. We're following our hero who is an F1 driver and a heroine who is just graduating with her like PR degree, and she is trying to find that first job. Hero has this really bad reputation that needs cleaning up, and the heroine and him end up running into each other, and while she is there, the hero ends up spur of the moment hiring her to clean up his image. All of the tension that has been building over like their adult friendship comes to a head, and they have a romance. After that, we have You Had Me at Happy Hour by Timothy Janofsky. I think this one is a hate to love romance. We're following a hero who's a sommelier, and his boss, uncle who owns this restaurant, ends up hiring this influencer bartender, and the 2 of them have a romance at this restaurant. Very opposites attract from what I understand. And I do believe that this also has neurodiversity rep in it. I believe the sommelier has OCD and generalized anxiety disorder as well. So I'm really looking forward to this one. We have Do Me a Favor by Kathy Yardley, which is another book that I read. This is from the same author who wrote Role Playing, and this is kind of a similar setup. We're following some older main characters. The heroine is recently widowed and is moving to this small town where I think it was her aunt had a house, and she is moving into that house, and she ends up meeting this farmer through his dog who keeps showing up at her house, and the 2 of them end up having a romance. It has a lot of heavier elements in it, similar to role-playing, where the romance itself is really soft and sweet and wonderful, but there are some heavier discussions in here, including being a young single parent, as well as loss of a partner and being a caretaker for a partner with chronic illness. Lastly, we have Jewel Me Twice by Cherish Reed, which is a spy romance. I believe it's compared like everything else like this to Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but I am determined to find a book this year that is like an action heist adventure romance that I actually really love, because I keep getting hyped for them and they keep not delivering, and I'm hoping that this is the one that finally delivers. On to July 26th, we have Twinsincerely Yours by Eden Finley, which is the next book in the Franklin University Round 2 series. I don't remember what they are calling this. Each of these books is set at the same college. They're written by different authors following different characters. As always with Eden Finley and Saxon James, all of their books, even when they're individually written, take place in the same universe. This one is following the other twin of Saxon James's book, which I have already read, and this one is the twin brother who is falling in love with his brother's teacher. So it's not a student-teacher romance. He's not a student there. That's all I know about it. I'm sure there's like a little bit of an age gap. I'm sure it's going to be a low angst good time. And then lastly, on to July 30th, we have 3 final books. First is The Blonde Dies First by Joelle Wellington. This is a YA horror, which is pretty much the only YA that I read at this point. Everything about this synopsis just sounds like a really good like teenage slasher. This one is like Scream-esque, following these teens who are trying to like make the most of their final summer before they go off to college. While playing with an Ouija board, they accidentally summon a demon, and the demon is following all of the horror rules, like all of the beats of a horror movie. So they are trying to outmaneuver and survive, and our heroine is the blonde one, so she's like, well, I die first. I'm reading this for Summerween. reading. Can't wait. Then we have the Fiance Dilemma, which I'm pretty sure is the follow-up to The Long Game. I think they're set in the same world. When I give an author 5 stars or I'm really loving their books, I just keep adding their next books to my TBR without ever reading the synopses. This is actually following a heroine who has already been engaged 4 times, and when her prestigious father is throwing a retirement party, she accidentally says that she is engaged again, and the guy that she says she's engaged with and her have a fake engagement. The last book on this list is a book that I just threw on here after watching Heather from AUDIOBOOKTubes' July releases, and that is Long Live Evil by Sarah Reese Brennan. I know very little about this book other than the heroine falls into a book or ends up inside of a book, and she is playing the villain. All I needed to know was villain romance, and I was completely sold. So that is it for the July releases. Let me know down in the comments if there are any other releases that you are super excited for. Thank you all so much for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, I will see you in my next one. Bye.